audio and visual podcast, a weekly discussion about all things guitar building and some random tangents as well, featuring members of the Guitar Builders Collective from all around the world. The Guitar Builders Collective is a like-minded group of individuals that have come together to share their experiences, knowledge and inspiration for guitar building. Each week you can join us in the live YouTube chat or catch up at a later point. It's also available as audio where you'll miss out on seeing our lovely faces and some of the visuals we share along the way. You can also find the Guitar Builders Collective via our forum, over on Instagram where we share images of members' builds. We've got a thriving Facebook group, and we do hope that no matter what your experience and knowledge is, you'll become a welcome member of this community too. Hello. Welcome,
Hello.
everyone.
Hey guys. Hey, am I lagging at all? Just want to make sure because the audio was cutting in and out, but it could be just the intro. You guys hear me fine, right?
It, but no, you're fine.
It seems fine to me. If anyone in the chat notices it, I'm sure they'll tell us. I'm just looking at my other screen where I can see the YouTube. Yeah, anyone that's listening on audio, we do this live every week on YouTube, and you might not recognise the voices. But we're joined once again by Menno. I'll put a link to the last time you were on here, Menno.
Cool.
Because that was a great episode. So I'll put that link in the
description. Yeah, it was fun.
You can check out. But this is your second time joining us.
I'm glad to be here, guys. I had a lot of fun last time. I felt like the time went by way too fast. And we didn't get to finish stories, but it's all good. We'll try again. We'll try again today.
Let's fill today with stories. We've also got Mark Gutierrez and Scott from Bonehead Guitars with me, Daniel from Devil & Sons Guitars. And I can see in the live chat a few people. So hello, Bad Joke Gaming, who I'm not sure I've seen in the chat before. So welcome to you. And Owen and Wayne as well. Fantastic.
I try to invite some people from another community that I participate in. Hopefully they'll show up. They're not guitar builders. They're more like some friends that are guitar players. And I'm like, hey, come over. I chat. Hopefully they'll show up. We'll see. Maybe I get lucky. It's kind of early for a lot of Americans,
I wasn't sure if you were somehow subtly not going to tell us what that other community was. It's some other community you're part of.
Oh, no. It's more like guitar stuff. Even though I'm not a player anymore, meaning I'm not gigging. I'm not. I don't feel like arriving home at 2 a.m. Smelling like cigarettes and beer. Even though people don't smoke that much anymore, I still have I join communities for guitar gear, pedals, and stuff because I love that stuff. That's like I don't know what to say. Pretend I'm not even a closet player because I most of the time when I play at home, I don't even plug any of my pedals. I don't plug them. I just grab the guitar, the bass, but I love them. So I have my pedals. I have my looper. It's just there.
Yeah, it's definitely it's just a thing that it's addictive to collect, and maybe unlike guitars, they won't break the bank when you're collecting them, unless you're collecting Glaries and.
There's always people doing like silly stuff. Like I'm not gonna buy it, don't worry. But the other day I saw this pedal. I'm like, oh, that would be so cool because there's an inside joke with my wife and I. There's a pedal that sounds like a kitty. I don't know if you guys seen it. You play a note, it sounds meow meow.
Yeah, the meowdulator.
The meowdulator, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I'll tell you why why it's an inside joke with my wife. When my wife and I got married, okay, true story. A lot of people don't believe me when I say this. We got up to the judge, and when we did in court, like we never did the religious ceremony because we're not religious, so we just did the official one in court, and we got up to the judge. We're doing all this thing, blah blah, and then the judge looks at us and tells me first to say my vows to my wife, right? So I get up there and I'm like, okay, I want to tell you all these years. By that time we've been together maybe 7 years, something like that. I said, even though we've been together, boyfriend and girlfriend, to me you've been my wife. I said something. It came out of the heart, So my wife started crying a little bit, and then the judge looks at her and says, "It's like, now what do you want to say? Your vows." And she looks at me, gets quiet for like a second, gets really nervous, and then just goes meow. And that was it. And the judge looks at both of us. I said, "Okay, I pronounce you husband and wife." And I walked out going like, "You meowed at me in court?" That was the so when I saw the pedal, I was like, "I need it. I'm not gonna buy it." I
It'd be
need it.
funny if the judge was thinking, "Ain't the weirdest shit I've seen today."
It could be right. She just got really nervous and just choked up. So I was like, I don't know what to say. Meow.
Yeah.
Well, forever, the sound of cats will have that romantic connection to you.
That's true. That is true.
Mm.
Hey, look,
Well-
before we carry on with chatting, I realise there might be a few new people here. Just so you know, we do this every week. We're part of the Guitar Builders Collective, which is essentially just a group of people that interact with each other online in various forums. Instagram, Facebook. We've got a Facebook group that's quite popular at the moment. There's an online forum, and then obviously on YouTube. And it's just people who make guitars or are interested in making guitars. So please do interact with us. I put links to the four of us so you can go and find our channels, find out more about us. I've put links to the Guitar Builders Collective so you can go and check out the collective on Instagram, for example, which is essentially a space where we share lots of builds by lots of different people to help you go and explore and make more connections. So it's a great place to sort of build a community and meet new people, have a chat, be inspired by fantastic instruments and people
Be inspired and be intimidated as well.
and intimidated. Well, on that note, then, what sort of things intimidate you when you see?
Honestly, technology these days, like I know that you just have to go for it and try to learn new things. That's part of not aging. But like every time I see these guys, just like, oh, you know what? As a matter of fact, Mark is really guilty of intimidating me. He's like, yeah, I just bought myself this new machine, and I'm gonna 3D print a guitar. I've never done it before, but here you go, it works perfect. Or when you bought that machine to put the print on the top of the guitar, I'm like, every time I see these things, I'm like, man, I feel like I am leaving so many things on the table, so many possibilities, just because I'm scared to try new things. And of course, I mean, it's just an excuse, right? But you just got to go for it. But I do feel, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, that as I get older, learning new things becomes a lot harder. Like it has taken me almost 2 years to get decent enough with the CNC to make my own templates. And that's kind of terrible, you know? But at the same time, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do what I'm doing because I'm enjoying it. And at the end of the day, that's the mission, you know, like I got to enjoy my life. I got to enjoy the experience of doing what I'm doing. But there are days like I guess you had, was it 2 podcasts ago? When Millhouse was here, not Millhouse, Mill Studio.
Milehouse with James from Yard.
James, man, that kid, I love that kid and I hated that kid. I'm like, oh my God. He's got everything figured out, the jigs, everything looks so perfect. I know that if you get to that level of technology, as he has done, the consistency is second to none. So he can make the same guitar over and over and over. And if it's a great design, great everything, he's always going to get that result. Granted, if the materials are good. And I'm not really angry. I'm saying it jokingly, but I'm like, oh, I wish I could get to that level, because there's many times where I try experiments. I think Scott and I are more similar in that way, and I just go like, here's some more firewood. You know,
well, look,
I don't plan enough.
That sort of links to something that I was thinking about as a discussion point today, which is you were saying as you get older, it's harder to do things. I find it's harder to find the time to invest in those learning process and things, the new
100%.
So, I mean, maybe I can still learn it like I could when I was 18, but it feels like making the time for it is more difficult. And one thing I wanted to discuss today was this idea of what it's like being a luthier, because we have lots of people watching the channel who are really into making guitars or into the idea of making guitars or do it in their spare time. And then we have like yourself and myself, we're doing it all the time. Mark's got another job, but still puts out this output of great experimenting. So somehow you get the time.
You just blew my mind. I thought Mark was doing this full time, so he has so much output.
He's got a non-disclosure agreement that he can't tell us what he does for a living. And then there's Scott, so he just talked for you both there. And there's Scott, who talks quite regularly about the fact he doesn't want to do it for a living. because it might ruin the fun. So I wanted to discuss that whole idea of is
I like it.
guitar building something we should aspire to, and what's it really like, and all the distractions we have at the moment of CNCing and 3D printing that might be another thing to learn. How do we cope with it all, really?
I do have a question that I kind of use when I talk to the younger people in my life about life changing decisions. Like what you should be doing, and it kind of removes a lot of the cloudiness we have of the things of the fear of the future. Because and here's the question. This is the main question I always ask. If money wasn't an issue, meaning, let's say tomorrow you get really lucky. I don't know. Maybe you're one of those dudes that bought Tesla when the stock was $3 or whatever, and so now you have this coffin of just war chest of money, and you don't have to worry about making a living anymore. Imagine that you are so lucky. What would you be doing? And most people, when I ask this question, they do get some sort of clarity. They go like, oh, maybe they'll say, I'll be surfing all the time. Or maybe, oh yeah, I'll be traveling all the time. So there's something that your heart desires to be doing that is only limited by your financial situation. And I think somebody who is a luthier or an artist, because a luthier is an artist in a way, if he or she gets honest about it, would probably say, I still be making guitars, maybe not the same kind. Maybe I wouldn't be, because we talked about this last time. A lot of luthiers out there have to make copies of Fenders and Les Pauls, also because they gotta eat, they gotta provide food for the table, and that's respectable. I'm not gonna bash them for it, but maybe if they didn't have to worry about that, they're like, you know what? I have this idea of building 30-inch scale 6-string basses. I have this this is what I want to do, and yeah, they might not sell, but it doesn't matter. It's an expression of them. So all this said, I still know that most people don't have the Tesla stock bought at $8, so they have to figure it out. But I think life should be a balance of that, because if you only run for the money, if you're only chasing the money without chasing things that are close to your heart, you get depressed and you lose the drive to continue producing money. But if you only follow the passions and you don't worry about what you're going to eat, you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble too. So like many things in life, it is a balance. But should you be building guitars? Would you, if you didn't have to worry about money? I think that's the first question you have to ask yourself.
I've said for a long time, if I didn't have to work, I would be super productive.
There you go.
And it would mostly be, time in the shop, and that would mostly be guitars. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't doubt it, because, I mean, it is your passion. You don't make any. I'm sorry, I'm assuming, but I think you've said this before. You don't. This is not your income. You don't. The guitars that you make, yeah, you sell a few, but that's not why you do it.
No, I'm going to be building something, and if I can sell it and it can finance the next project, that's fantastic. But building for me has always been, therapy. So
the implication there, sorry, Scott, was if you didn't have to work, you'd build a lot more, but not with the idea of it being a business.
Yeah,
the pleasure of building. Yeah.
There's a very dangerous idea, right? That has been shared. It's sold like a Stoic philosophy, but it's not really. They like, oh, follow your passions. They tell you follow your passions. But then, I think I had a rude awakening with that notion, because back in the day when I was a full-time musician, I performed as much as I could anywhere I could. I was touring, doing all that stuff. I was of that drive. It's like, oh, I'm following my passions. If I follow my passions, I'm gonna one day be successful. But then you connect the idea of your self-worth to the idea of success. Meaning, like, if I don't make it, that means I suck. So it's a quite dangerous thing, because you're setting yourself up for disappointment. There's, first of all, the idea of success is not an objective idea. Some people are very successful and never made money. And I'm sure you guys can come up with examples. But on top of that, which I think it's even more important, if you link your system of self-worth to how much money you make, you're bound to never be satisfied. There's no way that you come out of that direction, that path, going like, hey, I'm doing great, because it doesn't really matter how much money you make. There's always somebody you're going to be comparing yourself to, and then feel bad about where you are.
Yeah, well, let me introduce you to a whole new problem. I guess, and I don't know why, but I guess just intrinsically, I've always looked for skill and knowledge. That's how I don't know that's the basis for my self-worth, but I've always looked at everything as, building skills and knowledge, and at some point in life, you start to realize that as you get older, a lot of skills you will degrade just because your body can't do them, and eventually your mind will as well. I don't know that it's not a worthwhile endeavor, but it can lead to a little bit of a, I'm not sure what the word is, nihilistic crisis of identity.
Yeah, well, that is a good word to describe it.
Sorry, that took a dark turn.
No, but it's a reality. We all have a side of positivity and a side of, it's like the story of the two wolves. We all have it. So it's a good thing to acknowledge it, and then but try not to feed it too much. Do I have days where I wake up and I ask myself, am I messing up here? Like, am I doing things right? Especially when people that owe me money don't pay me. And then I ask myself that question I told you guys in the earlier. It's like, if I didn't have to worry about money, what would I be doing? I was like, I will be heading to my shop. So guess where I'm going right now? And I go back to the shop.
Well, yeah, I always thought it was kind of naive or childish, the statement that, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I'm like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Most people never even figure out what it is they love, but even fewer of those can turn that into a successful, living. I think, I would assume, I don't know. Having said that, I just stumbled into the career that I have, and I do enjoy software and data modeling, and so it's not like I hate what I do, but and we've talked about this before. My career in software and wanting to build guitars and a million other things that have always interested me, I think all spring from a do-it-yourself kind of mentality. Yeah. And I think that's probably something that most of us that got into this share. I could be wrong. There could be some other motivations that led people here.
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, obviously, I could be wrong too, but I think you're spot on. Isn't there a time, and I'm sure it's happened to you because you are in software. Like there's a time that it happened that I had like I don't know what you would call it, like a revelation. Like I'm already messing with guitars. I'm already changing pickups and all this stuff. And then I'm looking at a part that for some reason I never accepted as a part of a guitar that somebody made, which it was a very simple, not a Telecaster at the traditional bridge, but the one that's cut that you can use it for like putting humbuckers on a tele body. You know which one I'm talking about? It's just the back part of the ashtray, not the whole thing. And I'm looking at it, and this one that I bought, obviously it was a really cheap one, and it was just folded really poorly, and the little barrels they look terrible. Everything looks really bad. And I'm looking at it, it's like, I think I can make this. And then after I said that to myself, I'm like, hey, somebody made this. Everything on this guitar somebody made. I don't know. I know that's a stupid thing to say, but that was an awakening moment, because up until then I thought the idea of making an instrument far-fetched, almost as if you and I would talk about climbing, I don't know, like Mount Everest. Yeah, I know some people do it, but it's just very. And then I saw it's not really Mount Everest. It's a hill. I mean, I don't have the skills yet, but what's it about me that I don't have that this person has that made this instrument that is not that great. I think I can make this instrument that is not that great. And then that led into, 12, 13 years later, where I am today. But
I've told this. I've told the story a million times. People always ask, "How did you get into this?" And I was building something else, and somebody said, "Have you looked into cigar box guitars?" And I was like, "What is that?" So I Googled it, and immediately I was like, "Holy crap, you could do that! Why didn't I not think about the fact that you could do that?" I mean,
yeah.
you could just order a fret wire. I mean, it makes perfect sense when you think about it. People have to do that all the time, but it's just it never occurred to me that I could build a guitar. It never occurred to me to try until you see other people have done it. And you're like, oh, I mean, of course you can. Why not? Give it a shot.
Yeah. You start seeing people. I mean, it helped me to find people on YouTube, doing it, so that you like, oh, that's a normal human right there. That's not an Einstein level guy, and he's doing it. So it helps you to see that. But when and I'm sure the same thing happened to you, Scott, when you first got started, there wasn't a whole lot of people building. So some of the stuff you had to learn kind of just watching. It wasn't a tutorial. It was just a guy doing it, and you're like, oh, okay. All right, so that's how you use a router. The first time I used a router, I almost shit my pants.
You mostly got ideas from it, but you could glean a little bit of information. But it looked like there weren't a lot of people doing it. There may have been, I don't know.
It may have been, but maybe the algorithm wasn't, that great.
At the time, there were like 3, maybe 4 people on all of YouTube that you could find that were doing it. Crimson, of course, and Sully Guitars, and the Fletcher.
I found Fletcher was awesome. Yeah, I do remember. Is he still around?
Somebody said, yeah. I guess he may be kind of active on Facebook, but
he's into the CNC now, so he's on his CNC journey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so he had to change the logo then, because he was Fletcher Handmade Guitars.
Are we implying CNC is the next level?
No, not so much. It's more because he was very proud of the fact, like that's one of the things I remember him talking about. It's like old school way of building. Nothing against CNC, obviously.
I really want a CNC, but
I'll sell you mine, Scott.
Cool. You're talking about new skills and CNC and 3D. The new skill there is CAD. To me, that's the giant hurdle for for both of those.
Oh yeah.
I don't think. I mean, 3D printing wasn't that difficult to really get to where you could print stuff. And I'm betting. I'm sure there's a learning curve to CNC, but I'm betting it's probably not that bad. But what to print or cut is the big thing, and being able to produce files for that. I'm assuming that would be the big hurdle.
To me, the thing about what I think I know about CNC, again, Mark is the right person here, is that you don't really you can get started pretty easily, in a sense that you can find jobs for the CNC almost at a very basic level. Some people even use it just for milling. Actually, I know Mark does as well too, and that's pretty easy to do. But if you really get into it, the potential of the machine, that's what's amazing about it. You can just do stuff that are like that by hand you probably couldn't pull it off, at least not consistently. But if you were to get one, I'm sure with Mark or in some videos and stuff, within probably 2 weeks you'll be probably printing your templates, like what took me months. And maybe even making a telly style body pretty quickly. I'm confident. Now, if you tell me, oh, I'm going to build the arch top, and okay, that's a whole different. So I have no idea. Like I'm still trying to figure that one out. I've been attempting to CAD that drawing for months, and every time I try, I get frustrated.
I have never had any interest in making one. Never had
an arch top.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of my goals.
But I don't know why. I've never been interested.
Well, it might happen. If we all start talking about it, like we all have with 3D printing, where something will start working its way in our brains and we all want to do it. There's a lot of people in the chat talking about CNCing, and I hope you don't mind me speaking for you, Ty. Ty's in the chat. Ty shot the fox. I can't remember when it was, but a while ago he had some videos up talking about maybe getting a CNC, and then when he first got it, unpacking it and things like that. And I've really enjoyed watching Ty's sort of exploration with it and the things he's developed. So Ty does it full time, the guitar building, but it sort of evolved from little things he was doing inlays and stuff to yesterday I saw a post of his where he'd, for his bolt-on neck, for the neck to sit in the neck pocket, he'd CNC'd a sort of thing that matched up. So there was a sort of lump in the pocket and a matching hole in the heel that tied into each other to sort of grip it there. And it was just like something that was quite simple, but to me blew my mind because I'd never seen anything like that. And it seemed to make so much sense to stop that neck shifting in any way once it's bolted in. And that was all CNC'd, and it was
like
just
a
great.
Dovetail kind of thing. I have to.
Yeah,
I have
but
to
it's
see
just
it.
like if you imagine the bolt-on neck has
Uh-huh.
a flat at the bottom of the heel that you just put
Yeah.
down and you put your screws in. Just has
Correct.
like a little rectangle that ties into each other, that keys it in place. So when it sits down, when you're screwing it in, you've got to hold the neck in the right place while you're screwing it. Some people clamp
That's
it,
good.
and I lean it on my shoulder. And I
Just show us,
press
Daniel.
the body like that, and then I'm here with my drill.
But to lock in the tone, man, that's why you got to lean on the shoulder, lock in the tone.
It just grips it. It seemed really, really good to me. Like Lego.
Yeah,
That's it.
Well, I wakes up with a genius idea every day. So
Yeah, there was a clever name for
I
it
have to watch
too.
this
Ty
too.
had a clever name for it. Was it a fox something? What was it? What did he call it? He had a clever little name for it too, and I forgot what it was. Hopefully, he'll tell us.
Well,
in the
you
chat.
know what I'm doing as soon as we finish the podcast today. I have to.
Yeah.
I have to go steal this idea.
It does seem to me like when you were talking about your early YouTube experience of it not being full of people demonstrating, I'm sure there are loads of still demonstrating videos out there, but there's a lot of people like Ty who are just making things, and you can see they're making, but because of the quality of the filming, it gives you ideas. And
Oh,
helps.
that's right. That's right. I didn't
then-
mention that. The quality of those early videos were crap. So you're kind of going like, what is that? You stop and kind of like, I was going to tell you guys, I don't know if you guys know about him. I think he's semi-retired, but there was a channel back then that I learned a lot from, and I'll give him props for this, even though I know he's a controversial figure. His name is Will. His name
Will's Easy Guitars.
Will's Easy Guitar. Like
Yeah.
the first tutorial I saw of how to make a Strat-like body was from the guy.
I love him. He always seemed like he resented the fact he was making the videos and that he hated telling you all of this information. But it was brilliant because there was so much information. And it was
He made it sound like he hated you too. He hated,
Yeah.
It sounded like he hated everything.
Yeah, he
Still there,
got
but
into
he
a lot of
ran.
fights with people. But I'll give it to him. He shared a lot. As a matter of fact, also I know that he created these videos and put a paywall like how to build a guitar from scratch, including pickups. And some months ago, my brother told me about it. I never downloaded them. He gave them away for free. I feel he must have had one of those like, you know what, I want to leave a legacy, and he put them on his website for free. So he does. I think he's a good guy. I don't know him personally. I think he's a good guy, but he did come. In his online persona, he did seem like a dude that would punch you in the face if you mess with him.
But I
No,
just checked his-
he seemed like he didn't care enough to hit you.
Maybe, yeah.
It's just the way he came across was just, I don't know.
I mean, I don't mean to sound like I'm insulting him because he was one of the channels when I first started out that I really enjoyed watching. When I first started watching people on YouTube.
Oh, same here. I'm really grateful to him.
And he's
I don't
still
really
going.
want-
There's still videos coming out regularly.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't really want to come across all negative on him either. I know, nothing about the dude himself. I don't know. He just came across like, I hate everything. And, but I mean, I got some good information from him from time to time.
Did you ever share, Mark, who is the guy that you could say inspired you to give this a go?
I don't think there was a guy that
No.
inspired me. Yeah. I just gave it a go. I just knew I wanted to build guitars. I'm a guitar player.
Oh, I know. You are actually
Yeah.
an excellent guitar player. I've seen your stuff. But
Yeah.
but the building part of it, and okay, but how about being a YouTuber? Because you're actually doing the YouTube thing very well.
That
You
was
were
an
like,
accident
"Oh,
too. Like that was Great Guitar Build Off. So Great Guitar Build Off, you had to build a video. So I built the video and then just didn't stop. Yeah.
That's simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to have a background in design. I would assume.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I went to college for
Aesthetics is
design.
everything that you do. And that's the other thing that I think it's especially unique about the times that we live in, because you can be an excellent luthier, and I'm sure there's probably in the chat there's some guys in there that are way better than I will ever be, but they might not be as good as Mark, as creating content for their stuff, so like you're not going to find out about their guitars, their things that they're building, because they're not I'm not to be insulting, but maybe they're not good communicators. A guy can be an amazing builder and then on a screen be like, hey guys, who's going to watch that? And that's going to affect, of course, how many guitars go out there, et cetera, et cetera. So the set of skills that you need today to make it on this new online world, go from being able to work wood to being able to do electronics to finishing. It's all those skills, and on top of that, being a content creator and a business I mean, it's just a lot. It can be overwhelming. I just said this right now. I am allowing this to come out of my mouth, and I go like, man, what am I doing?
Something I wanted to pick up on, though, what you've just said, back to a link to earlier when you were talking about what you would do given the money situation. If you had no worries about money, what would you do? Well, I'm sort of doing that. I'm making the guitars. That's, to be honest, though, if I had nothing to worry about with money, I'd probably make guitars a lot less, because I find it very stressful, and I'd spend much more time with my family. That would be my goal. But I am making guitars. But what I'm not doing is running a business, essentially. So I've realized that in order to make guitars, and this is not just me, I'm part of a group that chat online of British guitar builders who I've met at a number of shows in the UK. We make guitars, but it's a struggle selling them at the moment. And it's very hard to justify the continuing making of guitars if you're not selling. So for the last few years, I've just kept making guitars when I can, but that costs money. And what I need to do is stop making guitars and start trying to sell those guitars. And that means I've got to do something I don't really enjoy doing, which is all of the sales stuff, all of the social media around selling, which I'm not really that keen on doing. And then once I've sold a few, then I can go back and make a few. But I need to stop making. I need to stop just doing that thing, which is it's a hard thing, because it's like they go hand in hand if you're doing it for a job, and you can't pull them apart from each other unless I brought someone else in to do it for me. But then I can't justify that at the moment. Don't have the finances. So I feel like on the surface, maybe I'm doing what I want to do, but maybe I'm not. And it reminded me very much of not long after I finished university, a friend of mine was training as an accountant in the UK. A big company, doing really well. The day that he got his final accountancy qualifications, he got on a plane and went to Canada and started traveling, and he never came back. He's done a bit of accountancy work in between, but he's a snowboard instructor and he runs a mountain bike company. And this is sort of, he was doing this chore of his job, realized he didn't like it, went off traveling, fell back on accountancy for a bit of money. And I always said, oh, you're living the dream, you're a snowboard instructor. But actually, I don't think he enjoyed it at all, because you have to get up in the morning, teach kids, and then he got better. Then he'd have to teach adults that weren't very capable. And then he got to a level where he was teaching people that were jumping out of helicopters and stuff. And that sounded cool. But it's sometimes on the surface, things that sound really cool, like being a snowboard instructor, aren't for the person living the dream. And I don't want to in any way sound like I'm complaining about what I'm doing. I love the fact I'm able to do it. I'm just aware I probably can't do it much longer unless I switch from the making to the business side.
I hear you. I have to share this with you guys, because I think it's, at least for me, it's very valuable. A long time ago, I'm having a philosophical conversation with my wife. We do this quite a bit, and she tells me something that I keep on reminding reminding myself often. She tells me that most of us, like almost with no exception, have a really hard time figuring out what it is that we want out of life. Like we struggle with that question. If I ask you, what do you want out of life? You say, what do you want to be doing? How do you want your relationship to be with your significant other, etc.? It can be a difficult question because it requires some sort of commitment that you're not convinced that you really want to be in. Now, that the easier question, and maybe the one that helps you find the north, is what are the things that you don't want? Because that you have complete clarity. Like if I were to ask you as a guitar builder, what are the things that you don't want? Then you can already start saying stuff. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. That's easy. So if you can eliminate some of that, then even though you don't have a clarity of where you're going to go, at least you're not wasting your time. Doing the things that that are going to make you miserable, which I think is possibly more important. So I guess that's why I am doing what I'm doing, which is building really I'm building unique instruments, because I have clarity on the fact that I don't want to build Strats and Tellys and Les Pauls and where I am here in Ecuador. If I were to, my brother loves to remind me of this all the time. The guitar player here in Ecuador, they only know Gibson and Fender. That's the only thing they know. And if you make Gibson and Fender clones, you're going to sell them. But I have absolute clarity that I don't want to build Fender and Gibson copies. I don't. It's going to make, I'm going to be miserable. So at least that more or less points me north-ish.
You're on mute, Daniel.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, I'm expressive, and you could tell.
Yeah. The hand said a lot. Yeah.
Before I got into guitars, making guitars and customizing guitars, my background is an artist, so I used to make sculptures and paintings. And in the studio where I was based, there was an artist who made quite weird abstract artwork, and he loved doing it. And he also was a lecturer, but he didn't really make much money out of his artwork. He made it out of lecturing. But then every year, near where our studio was, there was a street market for artists that happened in the summer for one weekend. And he used to paint these paintings of flowers that were slightly abstract, but not that abstract. And he, in the month leading up to it, he'd just churn these all out and he'd sell them all at the market. And that would fund his cost of having the studio for the rest of the year.
Oh, wow.
So this was like what he did as, don't like making it. It's not really my artwork, but it brings in the money. And then I would say after 3 or 4 years of doing that, his abstract artwork started to incorporate these flowers that he was painting to sell on the market. And then I don't know if it really affected his artwork, but he seemed to sell more of his abstract artwork and at those market sort of situations now, because they had this hook that people liked. So I'm not saying we should all make Strats for 1 month a year to fund everything.
That's exactly what I thought you were saying, Daniel. I was worried here for a second.
It still has that selling element to it, but I have noticed with my things which are quite extreme, if looking back on what I've sold over the years of doing it, the extreme things sell infrequently, and the things that are more familiar sell more often. And the past couple of weeks, I've been experimenting and trying to do essentially what he did with taking his flowers onto his abstract work. I'm trying to make things that look more familiar to people, but still have that joy of the weird things that I like making. As a in between, I still haven't sat down and done the selling side of things yet. I need to focus on that. But I think that for me, there has to now be a compromise between what I really want to do if I didn't have the money, didn't have the money issues, to what needs to be done to make what I'm doing still enjoyable but viable. And
that's the key. That you said it, compromise. That's the key. I guess that's what I'm trying to do as well. I mean, the guitars that I'm currently building, we discussed this last time I was on here. They have somebody in mind, and
yes, my
strategy seems to be working. As a matter of fact, I'm building a short scale bass, and I'm building it with the idea of this friend who, like me, is getting older. His back hurts, and he doesn't want to play big P basses anymore or jazz basses. So I'm building a small, lightweight 30-inch bass, and I'm trying to this is kind of what he had, at some point in time, mentioned regarding the bass, but I'm trying to do my twist on it. So it's a compromise. 30-inch basses is not really my thing, but my compromise. Okay, I'm gonna do a small scale bass for this guy. See if, and I already started sending him pictures. And the other day he's like, "Oh man, that looks really cool," So hopefully he'll tell me, okay, it's mine. If not, I'll have a bass in the shop for sale.
I've had I've had a bass project planned for, I don't know, like 2 years, and it's been snow plowed for several projects. The first electric guitar I ever made that actually had a truss rod and everything was a 30-inch short scale bass. And I keep thinking, if and when I do more basses, I like that scale length. As a guitarist, a bass just feels like a massive, goofy thing to me. Yeah. And, a bass that is basically, guitar sized is something that kind of appeals to me. And I've kind of been recently pushed into a position where I might be playing bass somewhere a little.
Oh,
and
exciting.
That's awesome.
Like for that to be a, 30-inch. Yeah. So you say 30.
Daniel's going to back me up on this one. Bass players are weird. Usually they hate short scale basses because they think they're not like a real bass. And that used to be my attitude when I was younger. I'm a bass player myself. Obviously now I don't think that anymore. I'm getting older. So that, that 14-pound bass, I'm not going to play it. Not anymore. Like imagine a gig like that. But
it wouldn't surprise me if bassists were weird in that way, but I've said for a long time, bassists are way more open to, different shapes and
oh yeah, that too. Yeah, but they want 34-inch scale.
But it's got to be 34-inch.
Yeah, it's like give him a 5-string 34-inch scale with the Claypole shapes and all. What's the name of that guy? Thompson, Carl Thompson. That's awesome. They love it, but do that and 30-inch, and they're like, "Oh, what is this? This is a toy. It's not a bass."
Yeah, well,
what do you mean my lumbars are not going to get pinched when I play a gig? It's not a real instrument.
Well, I think maybe this is just the crossover tool that guitarists need to, go to one string at a time.
Well, I used to play bass live a lot in bands, but I also played ukulele. And if you're playing them regularly, you can just switch between them. But if you have any sort of break, then it gets confusing. But, if you're practicing and playing, it all seems to make sense.
So growing up,
both instruments in the same gig, Daniel? That would be amazing.
No, the ukulele was fun at home and with some friends. And the bass was kind of more serious in bands. Well, I would love to say it was for a living, but it didn't kind of work out like that. But there you go. But what Scott just said about bass players being more open to things, I have realised that with the guitars I make, I just put a lot of effort at the end of last year into trying to sell some weird Ghostbuster themed guitars, and the ones that sold were basses. And I feel like you're right. There is a thing where bass players are slightly more open to things, and I mentioned before that group of British guitar builders that I see at shows. They all say if you make a left-handed boutique guitar, it sells at a show. I don't know if it really does sell every show, but there's just not that many of them out there. So that if you've got the target audience in the way that you're saying, Mano, you'll find the person that you think will want one of yours, and you make the guitar for them. If it does work, because I'm making left-handed bass and guitar at the moment, if they work out, then maybe that is what I'll just do. I'll specialize in left-handed basses. Who knows?
Hey, that's a niche. I don't know anybody who does that. So
niche. My guitar's a niche. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. I want to say when it comes to, for me as a bass player, I think 30 inches is probably the smallest thing I would want to play, with the exception of, I don't know if you guys ever played this instrument. It's a uke bass. It's a ukulele bass. It has the strings, the same thing that they use when they're going to extract blood out of you. I don't know how you call those. Now that sounds amazing. I play upright. I played upright for years. And so I have an upright. Brought it with me here to the country, and the only thing that gets even close to the sound of an upright is that little uke bass. Amazing sounding. It kind of looks silly because I'm a big dude with a tiny little instrument, but it sounds great. I think I would do a gig with it.
Crazy. I just had a quick Google to try and remember who made them, and it seems like everyone makes them now. Harley Benton have their own uke bass. That's
Yeah,
a small bass with those silicon. I think it's silicon.
I need to buy one. It's also something you can have next to the couch,
Yeah.
Mark, do you play bass too? You'd strike me as somebody that plays bass.
I mean, I have a bass and I record with it, but I don't really play bass. I mean, root notes, right? 16th note picking. That's about it.
So if somebody comes up to you and be like, "Hey, dude, I need a bass player for my next gig. You're the man."
Nah, I wouldn't do it.
No, you wouldn't do it.
No.
Even if you're going to do Racer X.
No, I still wouldn't. I just want to play guitar because I've been asked that before. Like, hey, would you play bass? I'm like, nah. Mm-mm.
I'm not sinking to that level.
Yeah.
See,
I accidentally turned your volume up and I can't change it here, and it seems like it's quite loud. I'm not sure. Can you see on the bar?
I'm a
It
lefty and a physiological.
might be that no one else might not notice it. It might be fine.
Sorry.
No, it's me. I hit a button. I can't seem to undo it.
Rob is saying that even though he's a lefty, he plays like a right-handed. We were having this conversation yesterday with a friend. Funny enough, because I do have not this friend that I was talking to yesterday, but I do have a few friends that are lefty and play right-handed, and they seem to have a different way of like a different skill set than I guess us, the normies, because since their left hand is their strong hand, they tend to be really good at phrasing. Maybe not so much at the picking part, maybe not as clean, maybe do a lot more legato, but they tend to be really good at phrasing, which is the opposite for, I guess, us, most of the time. Obviously, not the case of Mark, but sometimes my left is the one that fails, and it gets sloppy when I'm trying to pick on my right hand. So you can learn to play right-handed guitars as a lefty. I've seen it countless times, and you just be different. Now, what really blows my mind is the people that play upside down. I can't compute.
Oh, I love that. That is so cool. Yeah.
I had a friend that learnt like that when we were younger. He was left-handed, and then he got left-handed guitar and just switched and learned everything, like as you would do. And I just sort of feel disappointed that he didn't carry on with that journey of being unique. And
there's a guy, I'm sure you guys know of him, Eric Gales. I think it's Gales. Is a blues guy. I'm sorry, somebody in chat can tell me. And he is amazing. He plays upside down, and it's just to see every time I see him phrasing and doing the bending instead of up, pulling down, my brain just goes like.
You get a different tone for sure. Like the guitarist for Humanity's Last Breath. He plays upside down also. And so it's like really like it's metal, like it's like Jantrathal. And so when you have that pick attack on that low string, because you're upside down, it's different. Like you get a different tone. But yeah, check out Humanity's Last Breath. Like that guy is just like incredible. Yeah.
Humanity's Last Breath. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was recently watching some 70s period Aerosmith on YouTube, some videos and some live footage of them. And someone just mentioned Hendrix in the chat. One thing that I always found interesting about Hendrix is when he had a guitar that he just flipped round, right? So the controls were all in the wrong place. Joe Perry was playing a guitar right-handed, but it was obviously a left-handed guitar that he flipped round. And it just looks so awesome because I don't know why, because obviously Hendrix does it. I don't think I've ever seen a right-handed person doing that. And I just love the look of it. So I was trying to work out what I can do with the Strat I'm working on at the moment to make it look like it was upside down, but still
like
have
a lefty
in an all right
place. I have thought of that. And it's kind of like running around saying, I'm a lesbian stuck in a man's body,
You lose access to the higher frets, though. Right, Daniel?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, he was still playing much better than I can, and it didn't affect him. Although I would say something weird was going on. Or not weird, it was probably just drugs, wasn't it? Some of those live performances weren't the best with tunings and playing there. unless it was just an old recording and something had happened to the audio on it.
Well, I think a Strat, aside from having access, is completely symmetrical. So you would be, like the nut, you could just flip it around. I think that conversion would be somewhat easy. And obviously I think what would bother me would be that the tremolo bar would be on the wrong side. That would probably bother me. So I would have to take it out. But doing a conversion wouldn't be too much work. Maybe if you really wanted to do it right, you would just change also the bridge so you have the tremolo bar on the other side. That's what I probably would do.
So it looked like it was upside down, but it was the right way round in that everything was in a much more comfortable position to play. That's what I was thinking.
Just have to have a whole new nut.
There you go. It's like sometimes I see people on Instagram particularly doing little demos of playing, and you realise that they're not left-handed, the picture's just flipped. But there's always something a bit weird about it. And when I was studying art A-level, so I would have been 18 and 19, or 17, 18, 19, my art teacher always used to do this thing, which I now always talk to with my students when I'm still teaching art occasionally, which is put your artwork behind you on the wall and hold a mirror there. And now I just do the same thing with cameras. Just flip your artwork, because you're looking at it for so long. If you just flip it the wrong way round, you start to notice things that look a bit uncomfortable, unnatural with it, or a bit wrong. And it's definitely something I do when I'm drawing up my designs for guitars. I come back to it after a bit of a break, flip it, look at it wrong. Just
walk around it and look at it at different angles.
What is your process, Daniel? Like you strike me as somebody who is very analog in the process. You got like a piece of paper, just pencil,
Not
and go
exactly.
for it?
I don't have any set process. So one thing I like to do is use Photoshop, and in Photoshop I normally start with photos of guitars and I chop them up and rearrange bits of them and do things like that.
Okay.
But I do very much like analog as well. So I have a massive roll of tracing paper and I lay it out on my table, and I've got my guitar template. So I just did this with a guitar. It was a Strat, and I for something I'm doing for the book I'm writing, I wanted to show how you can change a guitar body very simply. If you've got a cheap guitar, just cut the wings off the Strat. You've got the core bit that goes down the middle, leave that as it is, and you can stick new wings on. So I thought I'll just stick some SG ones on. So I stuck some bits of wood on, started marking out the SG using my template, and then I just got carried away and I've got all my different templates out. I ended up with a mix of an SG and a Firebird, I guess, not an Iceman.
Oh, wow.
And connected it to part of the Strat body that was still left. And I love doing that when it's on paper. And one thing I learned when I got my tattoos is the guy that did the tattoos drew it on in yellow Sharpie, roughly, and then he'd go over it in red Sharpie to get it to sort of neaten it up or make changes. And then when he was happy with it, he'd go in with the black to get the lines right. So almost all my designs I do are in 3 colors, where I draw it once, then I go over it, make slight changes. And with tracing paper, sometimes I just lay a new roll of tracing paper over the top and then draw into that until I'm left with the final thing that becomes the template that I do. Although I am now thinking I'm probably going to be going more into Photoshop again, so I can 3D print some templates.
But you would have to have a gigantic 3D printer, right? Oh no, you do it or like a puzzle.
Yeah, because I
just right. I saw that guitar that you built.
Then I might get that a bit more accurate than, because I like the drawing of it, or I don't really enjoy making the templates that much. I always feel like the templates aren't quite perfect enough when I'm doing them by hand, which is stupid because the templates are only like 10 millimeter thick.
Yeah.
Once I take it into the body and you start shaping the body and curving the edges and putting in your belly carves and doing anything sanding by hand, then all of those tiny imperfections that might have been in my template that I've made by hand disappear. And even if I had a template and I made 5 guitars, finishing them off by hand, they'd all be slightly different because of the way I'd be sanding it at the time. So I shouldn't worry too much. But I like the idea of, even if it's just my drawing, scan it into Illustrator, whatever, create a file and print out a template.
I agree. This is going to be like a little bit of a tangent, but I do want to say it because I don't know if you guys do it, but for a really long time, I've bought myself scrapers and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get into using scrapers. So I hate sanding, and failed miserably because they never work, and especially because I use a lot of really weird wood. I like weird stuff, with knots and stuff. To me, it makes it real. It's like there's a living creature that I have now here, and I'm making it into a guitar. So I love it when it has imperfections, but machining those things can be difficult. The other day, I finally managed, and I think I'm gonna make a video about it. Finally managed to sharpen a scraper, because I've seen so many tutorials on this stuff, and they never work. Finally managed to sharpen a scraper really good, and I'm shaving off, pun intended, hours of sanding now. I'm like, finally, because nobody likes sanding. And if somebody likes sanding, please identify yourself in the chat. I need some help. And so finally, I can, and I'm done. Like 2 minutes on a fretboard with a scraper, well sharpened, good to go.
So tell me, what's your process? Because I love using scrapers. I hate sharpening them because I never seem to be able to do it well enough.
And Mark is
no thanks. Yeah, go for it, man. What's your process?
Well, the way I've been doing it lately is, I put the scraper on a vise. Then I grab the burnishing tool, burnish the crap out of it. Then after I do that, I grab a really thin file and file on the sides of it. Remove everything I burnished and do it again. Do that like 3 times. Kind of making, I guess you could say, the top gets compressed, squeezed down, and I don't know, spill to the sides, I guess you could say. Then I scrape it out like 3 times until the thing looks spotless shiny. Then I put it on the side, do the clicking, which is the typical thing they teach you, where you go like on the other side, and then do the process of going like that and then tilting it. And then it makes all the difference if you compress the crap out of the side, because then it's not that brittle. Like, so compressing I'm telling you that has been the trick. Then it's not that brittle, and I can use it for a long time, and it'll cut anything. I'm talking about going through knots like crazy, grain everywhere, and just fast and even. Because I guess before I figure this out, you would be scraping and I would see lines, and I still have to sand it. No, not anymore.
So right, I'm going to give this a go, because I found yesterday a scraper that I'd forgotten about, that I'd never used, because it was a parallel edges, but then it had a concave and a semicircle at the end. I thought I'd never need that shape, but the sides are still sharp. So I dug that out, and I've been using that instead of sharpening my old ones. But that's what I'll do. I will find some time to try your method.
See, I'm gonna make a short video about it, because I feel a lot of people will benefit from this. There's a lot of videos on. They go like, oh, just grab a file, go like this, it's good to go. No, it's not for what we're doing. Maybe if you were doing rough work or some pine stuff, it doesn't matter if it's a little rustic. But in guitars, normally you're going for pristine, right? You're going for something that looks ready for finish. That it's almost burnished. And if you do it like this, it looks burnished.
I mean, I do what Mark does, which is I use scalpel blades when I'm using it, where I use a scraper on paint finishes. But for a whole body, like I've been doing, I can't do it with a scalpel blade. So that sounds good.
But if you're doing curves, you still use a blade? Like if you let's say if you're doing a belly contour, can you still get in there with a blade even though it's flat?
Do you mean a scalpel blade?
Yeah.
No, I use a scalpel blade when I'm doing like if there's a drip or a slight lump in
okay.
I use the blade like that. I used to use my scraper. In fact, I've got that big fat Stu Mac scraper, is pretty good for that as well. But I've got lots of cabinet scrapers that are on a magnet on my wall that have hit the point where they're not really worth using anymore. But they just need a bit of care and attention, I think.
Yeah. Why do you hate scrapers, Mark? You have to say it now.
No, I don't hate scrapers at all. I just don't. I guess I'm an untraditional guitar builder, and I've always wanted to be an untraditional guitar builder. And I used to watch all those YouTube videos where you have the guys with all the tools behind them. Yeah. I knew I didn't want to be that. Like, I don't want to be that. And I make a lot of jokes in my video about my chisels just being paperweights. Like, I don't even use chisels. And I have a jointer that I don't use because I now joint everything on the CNC. I don't have to do any type of I don't need those machines anymore. I don't need those tools. And I'm trying really hard to find materials that don't need sanding. So I've been working with off the shelf carbon fiber and off the shelf acrylic, which already have a gloss finish. So my goal is to try to find a way to build a guitar that doesn't involve all those old traditional techniques and all those processes and all those tools. So I have nothing against scrapers. Like Daniel said, I use disposable razor blades and disposable craftsman blades, and I just use them and I throw them away. I don't have time for sharpening anything. And that's the way it's always been. My first mantra when I got into this was build guitars, not jigs. Build guitars, not jigs. And it's the same thing. It's build guitars, don't sharpen. Don't even think about that stuff. I need to find the way to optimize processes where I don't have to waste time doing those type of things. And that's all it is. It's just about time and optimizing processes. So I don't hate scrapers. I think they're really useful tools. They're just not for me, but I'm different. I don't build guitars like you guys.
So that goes back to Menno's original question. Let's say you had all the time in the world. Would you want to be building guitars, or would you just enjoy the experience of experimenting and trying things out?
Yeah, I mentioned that before. What really brings me joy is those experiments, trying things out. And the cool thing about that is that failing is also a success. When you think about YouTube, failing is a success. People would love to see you fail. That's a successful video. So it's those experiments that I think are really, really valuable, and they bring me joy. But building an entire guitar from here to here, that's months, and I don't get the same amount of joy as that. So I've been trying to break it down to the point where I have a crazy idea. I have 2 crazy ideas I'm working on now, but what sucks about them is that I need a guitar for those crazy ideas, right? So I have to build an entire guitar around those ideas, and I'm trying to find shortcuts to speed that up because it's a weekly thing. You got to post every week, and so I need to find ways to make the guitar
and
process
keep your day job, right?
and keep my day job, right? But that's another one of my mantras. My mantra is there's enough time in the day for everything. There's enough time in the day for everything, and it's different for everybody. That's not going to work for you, right? But for me, I say that over and over again. There's enough time in the day for everything, and I make it happen.
Well, that's great to hear, Mark, because I was wondering how you make it happen, because you do have a job and a family, and then you're making videos and great things as well. So, because I feel I'm making the guitars 9 to 5 and an extra every day. How would I make them if I was doing another job that was 9 to 5? I don't think I'd have time to do those things. Arran from Adair Guitars put out a video a few days ago, a week in the life of a luthier. Or an amateur luthier, and it's definitely worth watching because he talks about the fact that he's in a great position where, as a teacher, he gets blocks of time where he's not necessarily working full time. So he was showing what he was doing, but interspliced with the family things he has to do as well, and also mowing the lawn and things. I know if you watch Mark's videos, every now and then it just cuts to something in the garden or outside, then it cuts back, and I love those sort of images of the real world that happen. So it's good that he sort of.
But this is a good thing to mention, because I think one of the main mistakes we make as dream pursuers, if you want to call it, is not balancing family life with what we're doing, and it can lead to a lot of problems. I have to control myself at times, because they'll be in my shop every day, 8 hours, normally, even if I'm not necessarily just building for the 8 hours, I'm still in my shop, because I do a lot of writing. I write blogs and stuff like that, and it's part of a little income that I make. So I'm always in my shop, and there are days where I go hey, you know what? I've been here for 4 or 5 days. I've been working on these instruments. I've been doing stuff and all that. Let me go home. Spend time with my wife. Spend time with my family. Let me recharge, so that tomorrow when I come back to work, I have the energy I need. And it is, set up a little barbecue, cook something, drink a beer, have some fun. It's part of your mental health, so that you can continue doing your thing. It sounds dumb, but it's not. I mean, if you get older, you get it. But when you're young, you're like, oh no, I gotta go grind, make the money, and you burn out, and then you don't know why you're so depressed. And so having that balance is key. And
we've definitely had a few people on before, including Ty, who, when I was writing the blurb to go with the podcast, I looked up their Instagram accounts, their YouTube accounts, just to see how they describe themselves. And Ty and I've forgotten his name, that does the black cypress wood. Both had at the start of their descriptions, Dad, guitar builder, and so it's interesting how people will put that into their description of their life.
I learned this from a good friend back in maybe 2014, 2015, because I was really focused on my career back then. I told you guys last time that I worked for Sam Ash and then Guitar Center, and I was international sales. I was a assistant manager, so I worked a lot. A normal week would be 70 hours, some weeks more, and it was beginning to create a rift. So I'm being honest here. And there was this guy who was my client, became my friend, and he had this rule that on Sundays he wouldn't answer the phone. And we were doing business together. We were doing like a really big sale. I don't even remember, but close to $50,000 worth of music gear, like guitars, basses, and stuff that we were sending to Argentina. And so I had to talk to him about something. I can't remember what it was, and he's not answering the phone. So on Monday, I'm like, "Hey, Roberto's his name. Roberto, hey, listen, I need to talk to you. Like, maybe it was something I couldn't get. I don't remember exactly, but it was urgent, because we had a deadline for the courier that was taking the stuff." And he said to me, "Hey, listen, on Sundays, Sunday belongs to my family, and I'm sorry, It's like, oh yeah, but it was an emergency. It doesn't matter, man. Sunday belongs to my family." And it kind of stuck with me, because I'm like, okay, he has a hard rule because he works really hard when he's got to work, and he dads really hard when he's got a dad, So I'm like, all right, I respect that and I admire it. So these days I try to keep that in mind. I'm like, okay, I am doing what I'm doing. I'm a luthier. I'm an artist trying to make a living. I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm also a husband. I'm also a son. I'm also, so not forget about that too.
It's important. It's important.
Mark is hey Mark, I do have to ask you. You have wife, kids too, all that stuff?
Yeah.
Like, see, he's like
one kid and one wife, 2 cats.
It did sound like. Have you got multiple wives?
Yeah, multiple wives. No, meaning that he balances the output that he has on YouTube, a full-time job, and being a dad, and all that stuff. I'm going to assume though, Mark, you do spend at least 10 hours in your shop a day.
I don't. No.
What?
I wake up. I'm an early riser, so I'll get up like at a very early time, and that's when I'm in the shop. And I'm done by like 10 a.m. And then it's like, let's go to brunch. Let's go eat. Let's go have some fun on the weekends. During the week, I'm not even really in the shop. I'm like, I got a job. I don't do any evening work in the shop, but I'm like really hyper focused when I'm in the shop, and I'm able to. And I write everything down, so I have multiple to-do lists. I'm very organized. I know exactly what I need to do, and then I just do it. So yeah, just morning times on the weekends, and I don't work during the week. I don't do any shop stuff during the week.
You're kidding me.
Mm-mm. But then obviously there's editing and that kind of stuff that I have to do like here and there.
But that you don't do in the shop. You don't count that as shop time.
No, I don't count that as shop time. Yeah.
Okay. All right, because I was gonna say even the editing, that's another skill that I am learning, and I'm not that great. I'm not that great at it. I downloaded recently CapCut, I think it's called, and I'm like, oh, this is how you do an overlay. Okay, this is a transition. Another skill, in this day and age, that if you're going to be a luthier, it would benefit you to have video editing. I know that Daniel's really good at it, but he loves to do it, and I'm sure he started doing it before he was doing this luthier thing. But like, to me, again, brand new skill. I'm like, all right, I have to learn a new software.
Yeah, editing becomes easier when you think in terms of like getting it right in the camera. So if you think of like a music video where like every shot's like 2 seconds, every shot's 3 seconds, And that what we do as luthiers, we have the camera on for like 10 minutes. Like, doesn't make any sense. You're going to edit that. So to stop yourself from having to edit that, just get it right in the camera. Like, shoot 2 seconds, shoot 3 seconds, and stop it. And your editing just flows after that.
Do you write a script then?
I do. I storyboard. Yeah, I storyboard everything. So I have like this massive thing where storyboards are happening because I see the shots in my head. I just got to remember them and I got to do them in that particular order. But everybody storyboards. I think that's something everybody does.
I don't. Do you, Daniel? Please tell me I'm not the only one.
My videos aren't necessarily the best ones to compare, but when I look at the videos that do well for me, the evergreen videos, they're all ones. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, Mark's got a storyboard there. Oh, we missed it. We missed the storyboard.
It was just a scribble. So I did this at work. It's just a quick storyboard of what I need to do. So I got my shots and they're numbered. Like, that's terrible handwriting, I know, but like 1, 2, 3, and sometimes they're out of order. But like, I got to get the pot for wax, and I got to do this, and I got to get this shot on the breadboard. Like, just things to remember. Like, it's just a scribble, really, right? It's not a storyboard. It's just a scribble.
Well, no, but that's gold, man. What you just shared today, at least for me, this is like gold. I'm going to start doing that.
So here we go. Look, Paul, Mile House Studios, who's doing really well with his videos at the moment, says he just turns the camera on and commences waffling with no plan. But Paul's videos are a certain style, which are different to Mark's ones. Which what I was going to say, if I look back on my old videos, the evergreen ones that are doing well, they're how to do things. And the regular comments that people put is, you're the only video I've found where I'm seeing all the different angles. So I used to film things close up at different angles. So everything I did, I'd have to film multiple times. Whereas the videos I've been making recently, which are just private for members at the moment, so I can experiment with how I'm going to be doing things, are very much, like Mark says, I film lots of very short things. And then I just either film myself talking, or I just stand here with my mic and talk instead of writing a storyboard out. And then the editing software I use transcribes all that into like a Word document, and I edit that Word document and it puts all my words in the right order. And then I just drop the little videos over the top. And I find that's the quickest way for me to do it. Instead of writing it first, I can talk quicker than I can write, and then I read it back and edit it. Maybe not the best way to do it, but it seems to be working for those videos. But then I haven't really made many of those public yet, or any of them. So we'll see how they go.
Well, it's important to find something that works for you, right? I think Mark's idea is great for Mark is all about optimization, I have to say. My mind is a little blown right now. Because I honestly, I imagined you in the shop at least I was exaggerating with 10 hours, but at least 7 hours a day with the amount of output. And if you tell me you wake up in the morning, I'll like, oh man, that's crazy. Like putting me to shame. How about you, Scott? Are you an early bird too? Do you get in the shop 5 a.m. right before you go to work?
Hell no. I've been out of the shop for months now, but normally the situation was I'd spend a good chunk of Saturday in there, and it could be 8 to 10 hours. And then Sunday, 4 to 6 hours, something like that. Normally don't get there on, during the week. There was a short time when I was going through a divorce where I was living with my mother, and the shop was right there in the garage. And I mean, at any time I could just step out there and spend, 20 minutes working on something. And I miss those times because, it was fun. I could just step out there and just work for 20 minutes, no big deal. And, put a little bit of progress on something. I do miss that. But now that, shop is across town and, I have to strategically, when it comes to video, the only time I've storyboarded or scripted anything, it's when I'm doing goofy shit, like, my fake sponsorships or something like that.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, most of the time I'm like, I should probably be recording. This seems important. I should record this. And then I don't know. But on your like 30th bill, you're thinking, I'm just recording the same shit over and over and over again. So, I start thinking more about how can I change camera angles and capture a different part of this, or, Do
you have cameras set up around the shop though, like so that you can just hit record or you do everything with the phone or? How do you record?
I have 3. All right, for the longest time, I had one little camera, and it's got a little remote that I keep, on my pocket. And somebody commented on a video one time and said, asked about it because it apparently was the exact same camera that they used as a body camera. And he was a cop.
Okay.
So it's not the best camera in the world, but it's what I had and it's what I was used to. And it was starting to give me some problems. So I went to see if I could find another. And I found 2 more copies of the same camera. So I got them all set up on the same remote. But I rarely use more than one.
So you already catch yourself committing crimes with wood.
Yeah. But I've got a number of different sized little tripods that, there was a lamp I got at Walmart that I, mutilated and ripped the lamp off. It was a bendy thing with a clamp. So, yeah, I set it up so I can put my camera on the end of that thing and get it in some weird places. It's funny. There was, when I first moved here 7 years ago, or 8 years ago now, I was in a garage and just the way the shop was set up, for some reason, it was just really conducive to setting up some cool camera angles. And I don't know what it was about that setup that made it that way, because now I'm not in that much of a different situation, but those crazy camera angles just don't come easy to me now.
You need to invite Mark over so he can do the director role for you. Be like, hey, this is how you have to set it up.
I need a rich relative to keel over and leave me a giant sack of money so I can hire somebody to be my videographer.
I mean, it's pretty obvious what I'm about to say, but we all watch the videos of people making guitars. There's also loads of videos of people telling you how to put your lights up in your studio, how to position your cameras. And for me, for years, I used to watch people editing. I found it absolutely fascinating. I used to love those. Just a quick thing that I've been trying to do, again, with this brain of how can I get the business working a bit better. I do like making videos that are educational about how to build guitars, but most of those videos, because I do all those close-ups and stuff, filming it and editing it takes a couple of days at least, and then it slows down the process of everything I'm doing because I'm moving all the cameras around. So what I've started doing is every Wednesday in the evenings, I do an hour and a half live stream of me just doing one of those processes, thinking that it's not the best edited, it's not the best filmed. I've got 3 cameras, so it's not as good as if I spent 2 days editing it, but I can show the process as well, and I can show it in real time. People can skip through it if they want, but also they can also see, like yesterday, the do as I say, not what I do kind of element. Like I was doing something that was all going really well, and I said, make sure you don't do this, and then I did it. It's new fret markers into my fretboard, and I did something which right at the end, which meant you couldn't see the fret marker anymore.
I have to say, I'm hesitant about sharing some of the stuff that I do, because I'm sure the squinters and the pucker faces will probably start yelling at me. There's some stuff that I do that it's not that safe. But compared to the local furniture makers, I am like, just, if you see these guys when they cut a piece of wood, they'll use homemade table saws. No push sticks, nothing, just with their hands, and they'll stand it on the side like that. I mean, it's crazy. And though my table saw is I brought it from the States. I've had it for a long time. I bought it from this old man. It's a Craftsman from back in the 50s, with one of those 1 horsepower motors. It's great for what you can buy today, especially because I paid $50 for it, and I've had it for 12, 13 years now. But these guys use 7 horsepower, 400 and some volt, things, and they'll grab like a piece of log, just cut. It's insane. The first time I went there, I the whole time I'm like grabbing onto the wall and be like, dude, this guy's gonna kill himself. If I was to film that and put it online, I'm sure that would be a viral video, but not for anything good. People would be hating on it. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is maybe a lot of the processes that I do, I don't share because I feel like people are gonna hate. It's like, that's not how you do it. That's not how you use the thing. Maybe that's my insecurities, but
I realize I'm weird, but I went the totally opposite direction with. I've always felt like it's true, and how are you going to hurt me with the truth? I've always said Facebook is my emotional toilet, and when I get new friends, sometimes they're like, "Oh my god!" And like, you got to understand, this is just, this is, I don't care. Everything I post on Facebook is absolutely public, and that's probably a stupid thing, but I've just always felt like the truth is the truth, and if it's all out there, I mean, it's the truth, you know. So I've said this a million times too. When I first started the YouTube thing, there weren't that many things out there, but there were a number. When you go looking for builds, and you would find a number of these. This was my first build ever, and it turned out perfect. And I'm like,
oh yeah, that's BS.
So I just wanted to honestly show the process, and just be honest about the problems, and embrace the problems and how you solve them, and show how you get around them, or what you do to deal with them. And I wanted some honesty,
Yeah.
And,
no, but I appreciate that. I think that's pretty cool. I guess maybe I should clarify. I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to show mistakes, because I make them. We all make them. I'm not perfect. You learn how to recover. I think you become a better luthier as you learn how to recover from mistakes better. Like, I think that's like the skill you never expected to acquire. Like, all of a sudden, like, oh, I have a tear. I can inlay a piece of wood and hide. You never see it. I didn't think that was possible before I got into it as much as I am in today. But it's not that much. It's more like I know there's some people online that, let's say you're using a router, and you're going with the spin. You're supposed to go against, but you go with. It's a technique, okay? It's not that. It's a technique, and then it's gonna be somebody like, look at this guy, blah blah blah. So I'm like, there's some people out there who are chair experts. So that's why sometimes I feel like I don't want to share, but maybe I should. Maybe I should.
No, I agree. Like, one of the things I'm gonna stop sharing is my fretting process. I'm not gonna talk about that anymore, because there's just so many opinions, and I always think, the internet will self-correct. The internet will self-correct, but it never does, and that's the only reason why I want to like show my process. But talking about fretwork is really personal, and everybody thinks they're doing it right, and they're probably not. And that's it. I'm not making any more videos about fretting, even though my process is pretty unique, I think.
Yeah, you have a video, Mark, that I really appreciated when you talk about the. I think it's a mistake too, of after you finish doing all the fret work, grabbing a sanding beam and just going on the whole thing, And I remember seeing that video, and I'm like, hey, you know what? He's right. You should just, if you did everything right, it shouldn't be like all of a sudden you put brand new frets and you grind away all of them. Hey, check. It might just be the one little spot. It's almost like this part of guitar building we've separated into steps as if they are written in stone, right? You do this and this, then you level the crap out of everything. No, why? So I remember seeing that video, and I remember people giving you crap for it. Yeah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, did you guys analyze what he said? He's not saying don't fix the problem. He said, if the problem's not there, don't fix it.
Think about how many times you have seen somebody do something that clearly came from Ben Crow. And I've watched Ben's stuff evolve over the years, and I've gotten to a point where I know when I hear him say something that's wrong, and I'm like, no, that ain't right. But there was a time when, he just seemed like the foremost authority, and he was the most prominent thing there was out there. So a lot of people just took what he said basically as gospel, and there are still people that are still doing. It's just part of the process, and they haven't revisited, thinking about why we do this and what the result is, and if it's really important. But just as a microcosm, just to put all that in perspective, just think about the things you see people do that are clearly Ben Crow-isms.
Do you know what a trap street term? A trap street in an A to Z or an atlas is a road that doesn't exist. that the producers of the Atlas put in, so you can see if someone's just copying your A to Z. I think encyclopedias have these as well, and dictionaries used to anyway. So it's a made-up thing, so you can see if someone's just plagiarising you. And I wonder if fret levelling. Someone put that in a video. Ben Crow put that in a video, and now everyone does it. And he's going to go, "I caught you." No. But since Mark said that, I no longer just get out with my beam when I put them in.
I stopped after that video. I'm like, "You're right." Like I wasn't even thinking about it. It's like, that's the next step. No, it's not. You know, I'm grateful for that video, but I know exactly why Mark is upset, because I saw the comments. I'm like, dude, the tribalism.
Yeah, I guess. I heard. Do you know who Stephen Fry is?
No.
He was a comedian. Now he's more of a sort of intellectual. Right. He does a lot of work on.
Oh,
the radio.
yes. Yeah. He's actually really amazing. He's one of the highest IQ actors in the world at the moment. I don't remember the number, but like I know who you're talking about. He was really good friends with Hitchens. I know who you're talking about.
Oh yeah, it probably is. He does a lot of stuff around language. So as I clearly learned from him with that use of the word "stuff" around language, he does a lot of stuff around language. But back in the day, when Twitter was new, he was big on Twitter in this country. Like everyone, if you're on Twitter, you followed him. And I heard him today talking about how back in the day when he first started it, social media was the thing that was going to revolutionize the world and make everything like open and exciting. And Twitter was set up to maximize engagement. So he said that were the two key words that Twitter had to make the platform work, was maximize engagement. And he said at the time he didn't read any psychologist or sociologist or any tech person predict that maximizing engagement would mean increasing hatred and anger and making you follow all of these things that make you annoyed. And it's sort of, that's what the internet's become. And I think that's the way people comment on things, where they have that black and white image of stuff, has become very ubiquitous of how people use the internet. Not everyone, how some people use the internet. Because I presume I'd get a lot less comments than Mark would, for example, but I still regularly get comments of people saying you can't do that. And I just don't understand why would you write you can't do that when I've just done it? I just did it and it worked.
Right, so you've got Dunning-Kruger effect plus keyboard warrior. Yeah. Anyway, Rock Menno, one thing.
Sorry about that. My dog is got rowdy.
One thing you did really well last time was positivity and inspiration. So it's ending on a negative note there about keyboard warriors. Let's wind up with some positivity about guitar building. What is in your guitar building future, Menno? What could we all aspire to? I'm putting you on the pressure here.
You put me on pressure. No, I obviously I'm a positive guy, but I'm a positive guy because it's something that I try to work on every single day. I think that's kind of the trick. There's this wrong idea that happy people are happy all the time. No, happy people work on being happy all the time. Positive people work on being positive all the time. It doesn't come natural. You have to kind of put yourself in the mindset, be grateful for the things that you have, which I try to do every single day. Be grateful for the life, the opportunities that I have, and to be doing what I'm doing. And then that kind of puts you in the right mindset to have a good day. So, that's kind of it. I mean, but it's really easy, I think, and maybe I'll go here for a second. It's really easy to be bombarded with negativity today because of what you just pointed out earlier. The internet is full of really crazy people as well as good people, but there's a really easy trick to not be influenced by that, which is just close the laptop. The world out there is a lot more pretty. Really easy trick. Everybody can do it. Spend more time with the family, with the friends, and more time in your shop. That's the only thing I can say.
Well, what a fantastic note to end on. Thank you, Menno. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Scott. Next week, we've got Jason from Maybury Guitars on. I think I've mentioned him before, at least alluded to him. I met him maybe 4 years ago. And in that time, I've noticed his Maybury Guitars business really grow, get lots of great publicity. And to me, he seems to be doing really well. And there's something about his guitars that's brilliant and helping people want to buy them. And it's not just the marketing, it's partly the way he makes them, I think. So I'm looking forward to having him on. He does a lot of upscaling. So using...
He's next week?
Yeah, he's next week. So
cool.
Stay tuned for that. Sure. Until then, have a fantastic week and enjoy being in your shop, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
The Guitar Builders Collective is a group of like-minded people from all around the world at different stages of their guitar building journey. You can join us over on our forum to seek advice or share tips on guitar building processes, materials and tools, or just to share your builds. On YouTube, we have a regular podcast of guitar building chat where you can join the live stream or watch back on past episodes. Our Instagram page shares posts of members' builds and links you direct to their accounts. And for those of you on Facebook, we've got a private group that you can join, share and chat along with. The Guitar Builders Collective is a welcome and open space for all, so do pop by and say hi.